Good morning. My husband is running to the store to get these pavers that we're gonna need to go in here and out over there. While he's doing that, I decided I am gonna work on drip irrigation before I fill these beds. It's just gonna be a lot easier that way. For this one, I'm going to reuse the existing connection that I have over here, but it's a little too far inwards. So I'd rather it be like towards the right, more towards the right, coming up over here. And this is where the pipe or the tubing actually is. So that should be pretty easy. I think I just need to cut into the shade or the weed fabric and pull it up over this way. We'll see. Hopefully that's not too difficult. And then over here, this is going to need to be a whole new connection. So I have a pipe, or not a pipe, I don't know why I keep saying pipe, tubing that runs this way. So right here, I'm going to need to dig down and put in a new connection and put it underneath and up. That will be what I work on next. I think that's about it. After I do that, I just need to get the beds filled, get the pavers in place, and then get the pea gravel in. And that should be it. So that's the plan for today, and I think that's it. So this side should be pretty simple. This is where the previous bed was. It was a little more inward, which is why this is a little more inward. But I should just need to cut into this fabric here, and I should be able to pull it up. So hopefully it is that easy. Just need to make sure I'm not cutting into anything else. Okay, cool. And you can see this is where the tubing goes into the ground. So I should just be able to, pull it up a bit. And that should be good to go now. So whenever I get this filled, I'll just make sure this tubing is up like this, and it'll be mostly in the corner. So that one was easy. The next one over there is going to be a little bit more involved. So over on this side, I have 1/2-inch poly tubing that runs, I think, about here. Well, actually, no, it runs all the way up to here. So I'm going to need to dig down here and add a T connector so that I can run tubing up and into this bed. And then also, I ran out of 1/2-inch poly tubing over here last time I was installing the drip, and I didn't feel like buying more, so I just had 1/4-inch tubing that ran back behind the bench. You can kind of see it there, and then it goes up to these beds. And I'd rather have this be 1/2-inch tubing and then using the drip tape. So I think what I'm going to do is extend the 1/2-inch tubing that ends here all the way curving around here about to this middle spot, and then having it tee off here so that I can run tubing up into this bed, and then also run tubing over to the pots that are going to be here. So I will need to dig a trench from here over to where it ends over here and add a straight connector there, and then add tubing up to here and up to here. So that's next. That's the plan, and we'll see if anything changes. So this is where I previously dug and placed the initial 1/2-inch tubing, so there should be a tube running down here. And what I need to do is add a new, this is a T connector. So this will go into either end of the existing tubing, and then I'll run new tubing this way, connected and up into the raised bed, which will be where the drip tape will go. So I gotta dig down, find the initial tube, cut it, add the new connector, and then add new tubing. Yeah, that's it. And then I also use these ring clamps, which will go, tube will go over this part, the ring clamp goes over that, and then you tighten it. And that just keeps it extra secure. It's going to be a little awkward because this is adding about 1.5 inches or so to the length, which was not accounted for, obviously. So, see how this goes. I just need to make sure it's not kinked anywhere, because that will prevent water flow. So now I need to cut into this fabric and run a new line underneath here. Alright, I went and I further down the line and found the tubing, or the end of the tubing, dug that up and pulled it this way, so that straightened this out a lot, so I don't have that kink problem anymore here. And then I cut a new piece of tubing that's definitely longer than what I need, but I can always cut more tubing off. I can't add to it. So this is gonna go under here like this. Oops, don't want to get dirt. Don't want to get dirt in there. So I'm gonna dig a small little trench right here, attach this, and it will go up inside the bed. Alright, and then the only thing you'll want to make sure is that this isn't, when you bring it up to the side of the raised bed, you want to make sure this isn't kinked right here. Otherwise, obviously, water won't flow up. So just make sure you give yourself enough room backwards so that the tube can bend naturally without bending at a 90-degree angle. But yeah, this looks good to go. So I'm going to bury this now, put the rocks back on top, and this should be good to connect to an elbow connector and more tubing. I'll show you that in a minute. Alright, this is the previous end of the tubing. This is what I dug up and pulled on in order to get the tubing straightened out up there. So, like I mentioned, I'm going to run tubing out from here around the raised bed and over to the pots and the smaller raised bed. So, here I need to add a straight connector in order to extend this tubing. So I don't need this 1/4 inch connection anymore, so I'm actually going to cut it back here and connect it here. Alright, so this I need to rebury, and then I also need to start digging a trench that goes out over here over to the other raised bed. So I'll dig that next and bury this line, and then I'll be able to split off of it into the other raised bed and the pots. Alright, so if you can see, I've cut a line in the shade cloth, or not shade cloth, weed fabric, and this is where I'm going to dig my trench. So it's going to come out to about here. Back over here I've started to dig, so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So this pipe is going to go down in here, and then it will continue all the way over there, and then I'll show you how to split it over there. Okay, so I have my line buried from back there. It comes down here and sticking out right here. So this is where I'm going to tee off. So I've got one little ditch dug for here. So this is going to be for the pots that are going to be here at the end of the raised bed. So this doesn't need to go underneath the raised bed or anything like that. So I will show you how to connect it and then end it right there, and then that will attach to 1/4 inch tubing, which will be used for the pots. And then this side, it's going to go up here and then underneath this raised bed, and then up into here, and then eventually connect to this. So I made it a lot harder for myself by going ahead and planting the raised bed, but I really wanted to get those cross vines planted. So I'll show you how I do that as well. But first I want to do this little guy. So the first part of this is going to be the same as I did previously over by the other raised bed. I'm going to be putting a T in here. So I'll just do that the exact same way I did the other one. And then for this side over here, I'm gonna need a piece about this long. I'll go ahead and cut it. Okay, so this end is gonna go on this T as normal, and then this side is gonna be the ending side. So I've got this little ender here, and this just slides on one side, and then it bends and goes like that, and that'll stop the water. So I'll probably make this a little bit shorter later on, but for now I'm gonna leave it as is and attach it to the side. Alright, so that will be buried like that, and then I'll have 1/4 inch tubing that connects in here, and then this side is going to go to the raised bed. Okay, so this and this can be buried. Alright, like I mentioned, this one is going to be more complicated than the other ones because I need to get this tube up and under into the raised bed, and the bed is obviously full. So I'm going to dig down here, remove some soil, and hopefully just get a clear path down to the bottom. And then I'm going to cut this tubing, probably a bit longer than I need, and then cap it off at the end so that it's at least somewhat protected from getting dirt in it, because you don't want dirt in the tubing. And then I will try to feed it up underneath and up to the top. So that's the plan, and we'll see how it goes. I can fill this in with dirt and then fill this in with dirt. For this next part, you're going to need a corner connector, 2 ring clamps, a little ender piece, and then a piece of your tubing that is slightly longer than what you're going to need, because you're going to need to cap it at the end as well. So this piece right here is longer than I'm going to need it to be. Essentially, we're going to put the corner in here like this, and then this tubing will be out here, and then we will attach drip tape going this way. So I'm going to start by cutting this piece just above the soil level. And this I don't need. And then it kind of helps if you move some of the soil out of the way, just so you can get a better grip on the tubing. But the corner piece will go in first. Just want to make sure it's on there really good, and then positioned so that it's going across the raised bed, and then you can clamp it. Alright, and then this piece goes on. Make sure there's no dirt in it, and then I'm going to go ahead and clamp it down on this side so I don't get any dirt in it while I'm doing this. And it's helpful if the curved part, usually your tube is going to be curved, is like matching the curve of the raised bed. There's a little bit of like adjustments you can make after you get it in place, so don't worry about it too much. Alright, fill the dirt back in, and then let's see, do I have one around? I like to use a lawn clip, kind of keep it in place down on this end. And then I'll show you how to attach the drip tape. So I'm going to be reusing the drip tape that was previously in this bed, so that's what these ones are here. Basically this has a 1/4 inch connection on this side, so you're going to poke a hole in your 1/2 inch tubing wherever you want your tape to go, and then this will go in like that. And then these ones are really nice because they have on-off shut-off valves, so if you ever don't have something in a bed, or a bed doesn't need water, you can shut the water off. So I really like these ones. But the drip tape attaches like this, so you this part screws up and down, so you make sure it's all the way at the down position. Take your tape and slide it on, and then twist, and it secures it in place. So I'm going to be taking these 3 pieces. I probably want one back behind these crossbinds, so I'll have to maneuver it a little bit, but I'll be poking holes in here and then attaching these. So this is the little tool that you can use to poke holes. This one's a little bit smaller than what I need for this. I'm going to poke a hole with this one and then with this larger one. So that's why it looks like I'm poking 2 holes, but really I'm just making the first one bigger. And the only thing to be careful of is to make sure you don't accidentally go through the other side, or else you'll have to replace this whole tube. And that is one of them done. All right. Just need to make sure nothing is kinked anywhere, and I'm going to secure these all in place with some lawn staples just to make sure they don't move around too much, and that's it. Alright y'all, it's been a couple hours since I last checked in, but we have pavers in place. I need to grab the hose and spray everything down, but these are looking good. I might need to buy another bag or 2 of gravel, but overall, pretty happy with that. I got the beds pretty much filled. I put basically whatever soil I had laying around in the bottom of all of these, and then I put just some good quality compost over the top. What brand is it? I think it's Vital Earth. I'll double check on that. But it's the kind that I always use. So these are pretty much ready to go. I need to refill this pot a little bit, but so the only things I have left, I need to do the drip on this bed and this bed, and then hook up these pots to the little connection that I have down there. So I'll show you how I do that. And then I have a trellis I want to put behind these, and then I have a couple of plants that I want to get in these beds, and I think that will be it. So yeah, I'll check back in when I'm hooking up these pots. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the drip irrigation for the 2 pots that are right here. I moved this one temporarily so that I can show you what I'm doing. So I've got this black 1/4-inch tubing. This doesn't have any holes or anything in it, so this is just tubing to carry the water. And then I have this brown tubing, which has these emitters every, I think it's 6 inches, and that will be what will actually go in the pots. So what I'm going to do is poke a hole in this tubing and attach, let me see, this straight connector. So the black tubing, I'm going to poke a hole, put this in, and the black tubing will come out of this, and then I'm going to put a T connector in the black tubing, and I'll have the brown tubing coming out of either side into both of these 2 pots. Undo this so it's a little easier for a second. These can be a little difficult to get in sometimes. There we go. Okay. So again, black tubing goes here. this off again. I'll zoom out to show this next part. Alright, so now I have this black tubing that is attached to my 1/2-inch tubing. And this doesn't need to come up very high, it just needs to be about here, so I'm going to cut it here. And this is where I'm going to put the T connector. Sometimes these can be hard to get on, but you don't want them leaking, so it makes sense. It's also sometimes easier if they're hot, so you can leave them out in the sun for a couple minutes. Alright, I think that's good enough. So, T connector there, and then I will have the brown tubing coming out of both of these sides and into these pots. Alright, so I've cut my brown tubing, which has the emitters on it. I like to cut it so that I have at least 4 emitters per pot. So you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now in one side of this tubing I need to put a dummy plug, so this just caps it off and will prevent water from coming out of the end. Alright, and then the other end I'm going to attach to the T. This is my tubing for the other pot. Alright, so now this one goes on this side. Still need to put the dummy plug into this one. This one goes on this side. Alright, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to use some lawn staples to keep the tubing down and in place and where I want it, but that's about it. Alright, y'all. I think I'm calling it quits here for the day. So, I got most of the drip set up in this bed. I ran out of drip tape emitters, so I'll have one more going down here. Drip tubing in both of these pots is done. And then back here again I ran out of emitters, so I just have the main line here capped off at the end, so that will just sit there and that will be fine. But yeah, so pavers are in. This is a chrysanthemum and it's gorgeous, so I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I got some things to plant. I've got seedlings that are hardening off, so I'll do an updated garden tour pretty soon. But super happy with how this all turned out. Really excited for the fall growing season, so yeah, stay tuned and I'll see y'all in the next video.